make sure you give the Arctic Circle a follow on all of their socials. Their TikTok and Instagram handles are at Arctic Circle Podcast. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this special episode.
Welcome back to the Arctic Circle Podcast. Right before we get into it, I would like to do a little shameless plug. We have recently started an Instagram at Arctic Circle Podcast on Instagram.
Quick, go follow now.
Follow now. We will be following everyone back. So go like the post, leave a follow, and we'll get back to you.
If you do not follow and like in the next 10 seconds, bad luck for 10 years.
10 years, maybe the rest of your life.
If you wait another 10 seconds, bad luck for the rest of your life.
I would just stay safe and go like the post.
That. You don't want that.
Yeah, I would just stay safe. Like the post.
You better follow.
Yeah, follow too. Maybe comment while you're there.
Play it very safe.
Play it safe, guys. We're just trying to give you a little warning here, so just play it safe.
We're trying to keep everyone
We're helping
safe.
you.
Yeah.
Y'all ever see those Instagram posts where it's like, if you don't send this to 10 people, you get like bad luck for like 10 years or some shit like that?
Yeah, that was sort of what
that is the you have to send it to your friends too, or else you will get bad luck.
Or you've been frogged, go frog someone else, or like bad luck for the rest of your life.
You all have been frogged. Well, let's get into today's podcast. Today I'm here with my co-host, Colin Miller.
Yo.
And Josh Baylor.
Ni hao.
And we have, for the first time, a special guest joining us for a conspiracy theory podcast. Lucas Grimes Vukmirovich.
Oh yeah, what's up?
Also known as Luke.
The full name is better. He'll get to his social security number, so just stay tuned for that. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, Luke.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to see what this first guest podcast is.
I'm honored to be the first guest, I might say.
I mean, it's the only right fit, right?
It's only right fit after the ice bath.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're doing this new thing where every guest we have on air, they must take an ice bath with us beforehand, or else they cannot.
It was a real bonding experience.
It is.
Yeah.
The ice bath is an entry ticket into the podcast.
We got really close in that ice bath.
Yeah. We had to huddle for warmth.
I felt all of our souls touch in that moment.
It was a bond.
A lifelong bond. But why not give a little introduction, Luke? We're glad to have you here.
All right, guys. You know me, SSN number.
Hey guys, it's me, Luke's social security number.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna write that one down.
That's a good one.
Everyone go sell that on the black market.
You know, I play Catan, play some games. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a junior here at UGA.
He's a big gamer. He has
love to ski, love to work out.
Oh yeah.
Love to live.
You are a liver.
I opened with I play Catan.
You should.
What does that say?
Oh yeah.
Oh, big Catan player.
Big Catan guy.
Big
we
Catan
all
guy.
are big Catan
everyone
players.
here is.
Fun
Maybe
game.
not me, but everyone else here.
Yeah. We'll get you on the wave. We'll get you.
I'll get on the wave in a little bit.
It's like crack. One hit.
Just take it. Come on.
Just hit the Catan, man.
We're bad luck 10 years.
We're bad luck 10 years, man.
Can I hit your guy?
Oh, I don't want bad luck.
Hey, can I hit your guy?
Can I hit your guy?
I don't want bad luck for 10 years. I guess I'll have to hop on the wave.
You have to follow our post too, so you don't get those 10 years of bad luck.
Oh yeah.
Shameless plug. But Luke has brought us some conspiracy theories he'd like to discuss today, so we're gonna just jump straight into them, and I'll let Luke introduce the topic here because he's definitely the expert on these subjects.
Oh yeah, I've seen a few videos.
Luke, we have heard that
he's listened to Joe Rogan, guys.
Yeah, you are very passionate about conspiracy theories, so we have high expectations for you.
I love it. Oh, ooh. A lot of pressure on me.
Oh yeah. Gotta keep the pressure on.
I think the main one that I've kind of hyped up and I really want to talk about, really interesting, is the idea or the hypothesis that the pyramids of Giza, are way older than what modern historians would try to or want to believe. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of evidence for this, going back to water erosion, showing things water erosion on these structures that, if they were really built within the past 5,000 years, it's not possible because it would take too long for these objects to erode. Mm-hmm. Other evidence, really advanced engineering in uses of chemicals and other technologies that we don't really know how they got them or like how they were used. There are drill cores that have been found, which, I mean, the drill wasn't invented till the 1800s, I believe.
That's crazy.
So how did they
That's
have drill
crazy.
cores? You know,
That's nuts.
so there's some wild stuff with that. I mean, the pyramids are huge.
Yeah.
How did they build it? I mean, the pyramid used to be the tallest building in the world until I don't actually know. It was like 1800s, I think, is
Okay.
whenever they finally like surpassed that. So how did something that supposedly would have been built
That monumental.
that monumental?
I've read that the pyramid is about 481 feet. However, due to erosion, it's about 451 feet now.
Like, yeah,
It's crazy.
But-
Like,
It's almost approximately like 38, 40 stories of pyramid.
when you think about it, each of those like bricks or whatever what are they made out of?
Limestone,
Like limestone?
some limestone,
Those
basalt. There's
cost
different
tons
minerals.
and
Yeah,
tons
lots
of
of
pounds.
Mhm.
yeah.
Like how did they
How'd they move
possibly
that?
move them? And I heard that they
And the
got
quarry.
the limestone miles away from the site.
many miles away, and it's
Mhm.
like modern like historians will talk about how they floated them like on the
Nah.
Nile.
Sleds.
Or on sleds.
Sleds.
And I mean, like, the amount of
No
manpower,
way.
like, I mean, I don't even think, like, 20 men, 30 men, 40 men could pull that shit. You
Yeah,
know
that
what
would
I
be a
mean?
heavy sled.
It'd be heavy. And that would not, on those dinky little floats, like, later, like, Pharaoh, like, there's these huge ships in museums, and
Yeah.
it's, like, they're these little dinky little wooden ships, and it's like, okay, you're gonna put a ton on that?
It's probably
Like,
gonna
multiple
sink.
tons? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Go in the water.
How would you dispute that argument that they were taken to the pyramids by sleds or by boat?
How would I dispute that?
Yeah, how would you say? What would you say they used to get those blocks there?
I have no idea. I don't think anyone really knows. You know, it's like kind of crazy. That's all. Oh, shit.
Luke's just toying with his.
Dude, I'm playing with my thing.
Yeah, he's a little
Um,
toyer.
I don't really know, to be honest, but like, I mean, it's crazy. If you look at the pyramids, if you take their, I believe it's the length times the width, it
Mhm.
equals the circumference of the planet.
Down
So,
to a T, we're
down to a
saying,
T.
right?
It's like very, very much down to a T. And also, the pyramids are like so perfectly, like they're the same length on
Yeah.
every side. Like for
Mhm.
them, for such a giant, colossal structure, if you miss one stone, it's like it's gonna be leaning, it's gonna be tilting.
It's
But the
gonna-
pyramids
it's gonna-
are near,
yeah.
like the main one in Khufu, the Khufu pyramid,
Mm-hmm.
is near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, speaking of the Khufu pyramid, I think one of the big things that should open up like a lot of people's eyes to this stuff is how that pyramid. I mean, the pyramids were all said to be tombs of pharaohs. Pharaoh Khufu, I believe his name is supposed to be. You know, he was supposed to be laid in there, but no, there's no mummies that are found in the pyramids. There's no
Wow.
bodies. There's no artifacts other than like, I think there was like an iron hook and an iron ball that were found,
That is so odd.
and like some like wood that's been found. It's so odd, right? It's
this
like
is making me question.
I was-
everything
right.
I
It
know
makes you
about the
question so
pyramids.
much other stuff. It's also like, there's no hieroglyphs in in all the tombs of Egyptians we've uncovered, and all like the surrounding temples and all these other things. There's statues. There's all these hieroglyphs depicting all this stuff. There's none of that. There's no records of the pyramids in any of the Egyptian texts. There's no hieroglyphs of the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
So how come such like a monumental structure, or like four monumental structures, because there's four pyramids? How come they don't even talk about it? You know,
In text,
It's
in
just
text
like,
or
it's just
on the
like hidden-
hieroglyphs
on how they're made too.
on how they're made. They don't detail any of it. There's nothing.
It's
in
just
it.
hidden from the history books.
It's
forever.
hidden. It's like it's shit that's lost, which is crazy.
I was reading about the pyramids too, and one thing that I think makes it so mysterious is that because they're monuments now, historical monuments, researchers are trying to go about using the least invasive techniques to study the pyramids.
Yeah.
And I found that there was this one technique that they used to gauge the size of rooms inside the pyramids, where basically they would measure muons, which is like an elementary particle that can pass through. It passes through gases quicker than it does solids.
How do you spell muons?
MUON.
Interesting.
It's almost the same thing as an electron, but it's about like 200 times heavier.
Dude, what?
More cow-like.
More cow-like.
Yeah.
A little bit of dog,
Little
but
dog.
mostly cow.
Gotcha.
Okay.
and they would get radars that can detect these muons as they come into the pyramid, and like I said, the speed at which they move changes based on what they're going through, such as a gas or a solid.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they detect these rooms in pyramids is by detecting muons with radars, and they found that in the Pyramid of Giza, the biggest pyramid.
Yeah, Khufu pyramid.
Yeah, the Khufu pyramid. There was an open gap in the top of the pyramid that was has never been seen and is completely unexplained.
On the inside?
On the inside, near the top.
Okay.
Near the top.
Interesting.
That is so.
However, due to like I said, the
Do you know the
researcher,
name that they gave the chamber?
I don't know it by the top. If you
Luke-
search up muon radar on the Khufu pyramid, then it might come up. But it was kind of interesting to see because that was just one of the unexplained rooms that has not been seen.
Oh.
And because they're trying to use the least invasive measures of getting into the pyramids, they haven't had the opportunity to actually go inside and research these open caverns.
Oh, most of it's unexplored.
Yeah.
There's so much that we just don't know, and it's just gonna take discovering, actually going and seeing what is actually to be uncovered.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if in any of those rooms there's any inscriptions that detail how the pyramids were made or what procedures they used and how they went about actually
Honestly,
getting the numbers down to a T, like you said, the
Mhm.
circumference of the world based off the width and length.
Dude, I mean, what's
Oh.
crazy is after all of these years, after hundreds of years of archaeologists and very, very intelligent researchers studying the pyramids, there seems to be no explanation to how they were built.
Yeah.
There's no explanation.
It's only
nowhere.
theories. It's only
And it
vague
just,
theories.
It just doesn't
Mhm.
make sense.
I know.
You'd think we would know after this many years alive and developing as a species. You'd think we would have
I mean,
the
yeah.
answers to this
Civilizations have risen and
significant
fallen around this
historical
place.
monument.
You know, it's always been mysterious. Yeah, it's a lot of crazy stuff. Nikola Tesla, actually, I don't know too much about it, but I know he based a lot of his ideas off of the form of pyramids and looked to the pyramids as a sign of has to do with electricity. It's like a generator of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Okay.
looking at stuff right now. It says a study reveals the Great Pyramid of Giza can focus electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
They're saying
There are-
such,
How does it focus it, or what does it focus it to?
They
Does it
use
say?
Dude, I
they-
want to see this.
in their internal chambers. I mean, you can see there's graphs and actual. This is
That's above
actual
my pay grade
waves
right
that they
there. That is-
measured in there.
That is straight
It
physics
says,
and chemistry.
for example, they can develop sensors in highly efficient solar cells, which can. I mean,
Yeah.
solar cells. If they had technology like that back then,
Yeah.
Well,
then they could have definitely built something like this.
Yeah.
totally. I mean, I think I said this earlier, but the length times the length of the pyramids, or length times width equals the circumference of the planet. Well, I read a few articles earlier that if you take the similar measurements, and then if you take the seconds in 1,000 years, and you take the days in 1,000 years, and I believe if you factor them,
What?
this math goes a little wonky. It might go a little wonky. I'm just gonna be
Dude,
honest.
where is this leading?
If you factor them into the length or times the width of the other pyramids, they equal the circumference of different celestial bodies.
Enlighten me. What do you mean
Can
by
you-
that?
so,
like a
can you
star or a
explain?
planet is the same
Like
size
Venus,
as
Mercury, and the Moon are all represented by the pyramids, and the fourth one represents Earth. So that's the order in the solar system.
yeah.
Except for I guess the Moon's way out there, but
The moon's doing his thing.
Moon's doing its own thing.
He's just hanging out.
He's just hanging out. He's a little guy.
That's crazy. They definitely had some crazy mathematicians back there.
Dude, if we want to get into some real weird theories, Luke and I have discussed. We saw
Yeah.
a video about this. This is from very trusted source, EgyptForward.org.
Oh yeah.
There's no author on the article. It says it's a study. It's about 3 paragraphs.
Okay.
That's
It's
my
not-
favorite.
it's
That's
not-
my
But
But
favorite.
if we're just gonna let's
database.
like
That's
humor-
conspiracy
Let's
theories
humor
for a
some
reason.
things.
That's my
it
favorite
says a
database.
recent-
Egypt source.
Egypt.org.
I mean, they are they post legitimate news articles about Egypt. I would
Right.
say.
There's
There's no author.
not much information on there.
It just says a recent study published on Ancient Origins website there's no link.
Yeah.
I don't know where that leads. Claims that the ancient Egyptians benefited from the sound in the construction of the Great Pyramids and relied on the discovery of a dead end in the rock inside the pyramid room as a tube of acoustic resonance that generates ultrasonic waves at a base frequency of 5 hertz. Now, there's basically a theory that Luke and I have like seen videos on where people think that they used sound energy to like create like holes and like divots in the pyramids, and that's how they built them.
Really?
There's
What?
this thing called plasmoids.
Plasmoid.
It's called plasmoids.
I'm learning so
Never
much
heard of
right
that
now.
before.
I'm learning so much.
I can't really explain it. I'll be honest. I don't really understand it too much. But basically, it's a kind of it's like an atom and a neutron, that kind of thing, and it relies on implosion, and it has to do with sound frequency. And basically, the theory or the idea, and this is true. This is scientifically accurate.
Okay.
Everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency, and this is shown through if you take a water spout and you play a certain frequency, you can then manipulate the water. It'll start to zigzag. So, and then if you change the frequency, you can distort it and do different things with it, and it can like make the water ripple. It can make the zigzag go wider. So the idea is if you play to the frequency of certain elements, here's a chart of all the elemental frequencies.
That is an expansive chart.
Yeah.
That's
Those on
pretty
YouTube, you can see it. Those on SoundCloud,
YouTube.
you cannot.
It's
On the gram.
Or on the gram.
It's pretty wild, but
It'll be on YouTube.
basically, yeah. The theory is if you can find that frequency,
I don't know,
you
maybe.
can manipulate the elements.
Mhm.
So there's ideas of like that's how they built the pyramids. That's how they moved all these colossal stones. Is they used
I was
crazy sound technology.
when I was researching
Wow.
this earlier, I actually saw something about that too.
Yeah.
I heard that to be able to move these blocks, they would inscribe something on to one of the blocks, and then they would hit it with a metal rod, which would cause a certain sound frequency, which would basically allow the sound waves to move the couple ton block into the air, almost by
I'm
defying
not buying
gravity.
What the
I'm not buying
That's
that.
crazy.
I'm not buying that.
There's an obelisk that's still in the ground from I'm not sure when, but it's during like the ancient Egyptian pyramid, and it's still like half chiseled out. And if you look at the chisels, like the chisel or like this, like the marks of the excavation site, it looks like someone took like an ice cream scoop and like scooped out rock.
Mhm.
And it's like, how do you explain they did that? There's no like chisel marks. There's nothing. It's like it looks almost alien. It's not saying it's aliens at all, but it looks like alien in nature. If you get what I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
It just doesn't
So
look
foreign
like
to
something
us.
we-
Yeah,
just-
it's like
yeah.
how'd
hard
they
to
do that?
understand.
almost non-human. It's
Yeah.
almost unhuman.
I think there's
What went on.
definitely a possibility that there was a civilization that existed long ago that maybe evolved further than we realize, and something happened to wipe them all out.
Oh, I totally believe that. I mean,
we
humanity.
can talk about that.
Oh, totally. I mean, humanity has been around for like as humans as like we know them today have been around for 200,000 years.
Mhm.
And before that, there were all these different versions of humans. So it's like, if we've been around for that long, I think it's very ignorant to think that only in the past, 15,000 years, we've sprouted up and actually, started doing stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we kind of just roamed around, hunted giant bears and mammoths.
Yeah, just survived.
And ate
Survive.
bananas.
And ate bananas.
Yeah, bananas.
I got a banana out right now.
Us and our monkey ancestors.
Gotta
Like-
pay respects. Gotta pay
Bananas.
respects to the
It's
monkeys.
crazy. If you go back, I believe it's like, let me look it up real fast. The Sahara used to be a rainforest,
Mhm.
and it used to have some of the most complex river systems on the planet.
Right.
And it's like, and during that period, it's a very rainy period for that whole region. And so people have looked to how it was like it then, and let me look it up right now. When that was, but they've linked that to that's possibly when like the Sphinx and other like of these really like advanced Egyptian like huge monumental structures were built
Yeah.
due to the water erosion shown on them that could not have happened
Wow.
in such recent time. It would take like thousands of years for this
A
erosion
long
to show.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That makes a lot of sense.
right?
It
Isn't that
does.
crazy?
There was probably
So
some powerful
only
civilizations
6,000 years
back
ago,
then, too.
only 6,000 years ago was the Sahara rainforest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not that long ago.
That was in our
Yeah,
time.
no.
Yeah,
6,000?
6,000,
Mm,
and
That's in our species' time.
yeah,
that's in our species time. That's well in our
it's in the
species time.
timeline.
And I mean,
The darkest timeline.
Yeah, the very
Egyptians
early
go,
beginning.
the oldest Egyptians
The
go back,
darkest
I believe, like 4,500 BC.
Yeah, so that
Wait,
would be around that
Like,
time.
like very close. Yeah, pretty much, right?
yeah.
I kind of wanted to touch too on like I know you were talking about sound to be able to excavate the pyramids, but what about the drill cores and the drill bits that they had?
That is an interesting one.
Dude,
Because I know you were talking about how they had special drills that even in today's standards could hold up.
Well, they don't even. Yeah, I was reading a little bit. Scientists don't even know like what they could have used
I've
to
seen.
drill
Yeah,
those. Like what material they used as the base to make these holes. I mean, there's like some people think maybe diamond,
yeah.
Mhm.
But it's like, how do they
Yeah.
get these diamonds? There's not diamonds. I don't believe in
and
that
then
area.
they found a way to
Mhm.
create devices that could like spin at a speed to create these.
hmm
It's just like
It's wild.
Well,
And
I
even if like, let's say they did find a way to drill into these holes, and it wasn't something that it was something that we could create today.
Mhm.
That's still crazy. Because I
Yeah.
mean, there's no drills for thousands of years. You know, like that isn't replicated for so long after. The Greeks didn't do it. You
Mhm.
know, like it's really crazy. It's so fascinating to me.
Can you describe what they use the drills for and like what they crafted with the drills? Because right now we're talking about
I
what
honestly don't even know.
I will like
I
some of
just-
the rooms
if you
inside
look-
the
if you
pyramids
look-
or the holes, just so the listeners can understand exactly what we're talking
Yeah.
about and what
If
the
you look
drills
on
use.
if you look on some
Yeah,
of
look
these
at what-
structures, there's literally drill holes into the stone and like granite
like
and limestone.
perfect
Like-
tubular, like so. Oh, okay.
like that. So
Yeah, no
that's
way.
what it looks
See
like.
that.
And
No
it's
way.
like, how'd they do that?
It's
What
so
was the point of
perfect.
it?
That's
Yeah.
kind of
a perfect
wild.
circle.
That's
Maybe that has something to do with the acoustics of the place.
I did
That's
read
where a lot
in
of
research.
theories
It
are.
probably amplifies sound. I heard that the pyramids have a tendency to amplify
What?
sound on the inside,
I did research.
based
How
off
did they
like
do
the
this?
way they made it.
Like the tunnel system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most famous of these drill cores is called Core 7. It's Petrie's Core 7.
Petrie's Core 7.
And I read I read a research paper by this scientist. He's a chemical scientist, and his
Oh,
wife
yeah.
is
That's
wild.
crazy.
That's
a
There's
geologist.
there is some perfect
that's
precision
granite,
in
that's
those cuts.
concrete, and then that is just like how
how'd they do that? Right? It's a pure slice into the stone.
That's nuts.
All right, wait, Luke, continue.
But there was a research paper I read by this chemical scientist and his wife, and he talked about how like there's evidence on some of these cores and certain structures on these pyramids that shows they use, I believe, hydrochloric acid,
Really?
Really?
and its potential theory is that they made a copper like kind of drill, like a very alien looking drill,
Hmm.
and they put that in and then took it out and then put hydrochloric acid back in and then kept drilling
In the hole.
in the hole, and that's how they could have made these.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay.
That's a good explanation, I'd say.
But then how did they get the hydrochloric acid?
Yeah, there's always
I don't
one.
know.
You know?
There's always one part
Like-
of this puzzle that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
I would imagine they would have some well, compared to today's standards, rudimentary chemists back then that could have crafted a hydrochloric acid, potentially. But it is a that is a far-fetched
They
theory.
could have.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about having another advanced civilization thousands of years before us, that's not too far off.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been other crazy things in history too. Like, you guys know what Greek fire is?
I
Have
have.
you heard of that?
Is that what
No,
burns on the
I don't think
water?
Yeah, it was like something made by the Byzantiums in like the early medieval period.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And basically it was a ancient era flamethrower and incendiary grenade that they
my
made,
God.
and they kept secret. It literally
That's
shot
crazy.
out and
How did it work?
We don't
That
know.
would be
We have no
absurdly
idea.
powerful
It's just
in
been.
those
It's just
days' standards.
literally. It's just recorded,
You
and
are
there's all
God.
these battles of
Your army's
Byzant,
gone.
on the ships. They would put it on ships, and
Yeah.
it was like a mounted gun.
I mean,
That
the
they would get
Byzantine
up
did
close.
kind of destroy everything.
Yeah, they did.
It would
Yeah,
get
but,
close to like other ships, and they would just cover it in an unextinguishable fire.
That's
Dude,
nuts.
I don't know
Right?
if I could
Isn't
believe
that
that.
so? And like, I totally believe that. Like, ancient whatever who calculated, the circumference of the planet, and all these other celestial bodies could have something like this.
Mm-hmm. That kind of reminds me of, have you guys ever seen Game of Thrones? I forgot if
Yeah.
I've not.
I have seen.
There's
Have
one.
you read it? Or...
No, I've seen the first episode.
There's
Okay,
one
that's
scene.
a good episode.
Yeah, it's solid.
There's lots of
Nice,
sex in the
Colin.
show.
There is.
There's
yeah.
one scene where they're doing battle on sea and they launch like green fire.
Yeah, it's based off of green
spreads,
fire.
Oh,
that
yeah,
spreads on the
that's
water
awesome.
and
Yeah.
catches over all the boats on fire. That's kind of what I'm imagining.
Yeah,
the
that's literally what it was
the
like.
Byzantine.
It was
had.
only like, I think it was only extinguishable by like vinegar
yeah,
or olive oil. Olive oil.
You just have to abandon ship.
No. Yeah, right. So
You're gone.
crazy. Going back to the pyramids, another thing I read about, and I didn't dive too much into this,
Mhm.
but another research paper I read talks about how the pyramids also most likely was a generator, because in the Queen's Chamber there is evidence of chemical altering of the limestone within it. Meaning some sort of force, pressure, heat, or something of the sort would have had to have gone through at such a magnitude to have chemically altered the surrounding limestone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's crazy.
Pyramids as a
Sounds like they had a
generator?
lot of
generator.
chemists back
It
then. They knew
created
how to-
electricity.
Yeah.
For like the city or the surrounding city, or
We don't know, but like it could emit electricity, and there's a bunch of sodium chloride that's found. So salt, that's found all over the Queen's Chamber, like in like huge deposits that are like inches thick,
wow.
and it's because of that.
Dude, we think of the pyramids and the Egyptians back then as sort of these primitive humans, these hunter gatherers.
It's crazy, right?
And like, little do we know, there is that possibility that they could have just been super advanced.
Yeah.
It might not even
They're
have been
actually the smartest
Egyptians.
minds.
The Egyptians may have just stumbled upon these
Yeah,
structures.
that's
and-
true.
That's probably. I honestly believe that. I
That's-
believe that there was some like previous
They just
civilization.
took them over.
Something happened,
Yeah.
and then like they just kind of came, and the Egyptians the Egyptians either came after, or they just kind of mixed,
Mhm.
and that's how we got.
I mean, you know how territorial
Pyramids.
everyone was back then.
I mean, even nowadays.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
does not go away.
Orders
not
don't
go
change
away.
very
That's
often.
one of humans' many traits.
Humans are so crazy. Like
yeah.
the amount of like human species and races that have gone extinct. Like the ancient Egyptians were a different race than us.
Mhm.
Than like what's modern. So, which is like crazy to think about. Like they
Yeah.
were a completely separate entity
Yeah.
than like they have no like traceable ancestors, except for like I think there's some Nubians that have like similar
Nubians.
descent.
Nubians.
Yeah.
And there's talks of how like some of the pharaohs. There was one pharaoh who I believe, forget his name, but I think he was like 8-9 feet tall. You know.
That is a mountain of a man.
Yeah, and I believe Nubians have some of the like tallest people, like genetics in the world.
Mhm. How do you spell Nubians?
Nubian.
Are we
I'm looking at that
transitioning
right now.
into giants, or what's going on here?
Really quick, I do want to.
Nubians.
I'm still open on this article I talked about earlier with the ultrasonic waves,
Yeah.
and just reading some more of this. It says
Sure.
the researchers noted it's long been known that ultrasound affects the human brain in several ways, which can stimulate feelings of nausea, anxiety, paranoia, and awe. And for the most sensitive individuals, can lead to a sense of separation from the physical world, accompanied by an out-of-this-world sense.
Oh my gosh.
It's just it's long been known that.
Yeah.
Researchers
Long
say that.
been known.
Obviously, I
The
knew about
scientists-
that.
That was discovered
scientists-
before AD.
Of course.
BCE.
The scientists have confirmed that ultrasound can produce a changing state of consciousness, leading to unrealistic visual experiences and psychological visions. It just says the scientists have confirmed.
That's
There's
scientists.
Guys, the scientists
there's
confirmed
no
this.
references. There's
Psychological
no links.
visions.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
So they were just on something.
But you know, someone in Egypt
By
just
sound waves,
like-
yeah, they were just
Yeah, the
hallucinating.
researchers said this.
The
Dude,
researchers.
Maybe
They
that's
were-
where a lot of their
they just
religions
had to
came
get this
from. They
out.
were just
They
they
were
were
hallucinating
seeing
through
things.
sound waves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where,
Like
where have we gone wrong?
I know.
We should be doing that.
And it's like, where did they get that? If that truly is how like history went down, where did they get that from? You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of theories that I've seen of like previous civilizations, and then cataclysmic events have forced them to kind of like desert their cities or.
I'll pull it up. Oh, I can't pull it up.
I need my phone.
Someone pull it up. All right, y'all. Well, we just talked about the pyramids for an extensive period of time, and we
Yeah,
had no regrets. I had
No
a great
regrets.
time.
I hope
It's a
we
good
gave
thing to
you
talk
some-
about. I love talking about it. It's so
talking about this.
I
it's
will
so
say
wild.
my brain capacity grew tenfold over this past half hour.
Yeah, I hope you
I
took
had no
something away
idea.
about this and maybe do a little bit of your own research about the pyramids.
Find your research. Go out there, go to the pyramids. Tell me about it.
Yeah, try to
Reach out, let us know.
carve them up.
Tell me about it.
Maybe
You got my
find
social
some
security
secret
number.
chambers.
Go raid the
and
pyramids.
the drill holes.
Do it,
and all
everyone together.
Everyone's doing it.
If we all raid the
Raid.
pyramids, we will win.
that. Raid the
We will win.
pyramids. All right. Well, with
With that being said,
that being said,
I know it. You've been listening to the Arctic Circle. We are the Icemen signing off. Until next time, and stay icy until next time. I think I butchered that one.
stay chilly till next time too. Just be cold. All right.
Adios. Hasta
Bye.
luego.